Welcome to a report. We have card reviews. The card reveals are going on. They're dropping, and today we're going to be looking at all the cards we know so far. Now we're going to have these review shows on a pretty regular basis now, almost every day, just to keep you guys up to date on what exactly is happening. We're back from our company vacation. It's been a good time. We're camping, but now it's time to get back to business. And we have 20 cards waiting for us to review.
Yes.
So let's see what the expansion is bringing for us here.
Well, first of all, we got Combustion, which is a 3-mana mage spell that says deal 4 damage to a minion. Any access damages both neighbors. This is interesting. It's anti-aggro, obviously.
Yeah.
Fun interaction with Divine Shield would be that it calculates off of the health, presumably calculates off of the health of the minion rather than the actual damage it needs to deal to kill the Divine Shield.
I think so, yeah.
That's how, at least that's how explosive runes worked.
Yeah.
So, that's weird and fun. But yeah, I think for the most part, I guess the best effect is if you have either a 3 health minion surrounded by 2 1 healths or a 2 health surrounded by 2 2 health.
So there's something along the lines of Crushing Walls, if you remember that, where you have to actually play around it with positioning.
Yeah, and
your
Crushing Walls was never that popular, though.
Well, I just meant mechanically.
Yeah.
You playing around it or you playing against it with your positioning on your board.
I feel like almost the sort of ramming speed sort of cards are better in comparison because those were actually played.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is going to be weird to play around for sure. And this generally is just reasonably good against boards like, say, board-centric aggro decks like Zoo or Token Druid, or actually most Token decks really. Murlocs come to mind, no matter which class plays them.
Now you probably want your highest health minions in the center of your board a lot. Interesting idea for sure. It makes you more interactive. I can't complain much about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like rolling Fireball in that way. Mage's got a couple of those. Next up we've got Headmaster kel'thuzad.
Okay.
Oh boy.
The big one.
Yeah. He's a 5-mana 4/6 spell burst. If the spell destroys any minions, summon them.
So that's like like the Frostmourne effect.
Yes.
Yeah. That seems pretty strong.
But this is actually a collectible card that you can put in your deck, and obviously you usually play this with some sort of destroy spell or high damage spell already lined up.
Maybe complete board clearing.
Oh, right.
Because you get a full board.
Mm-hmm. Play this, play Brawl.
Yeah.
Go to town.
Easy. I think this is going to be really strong in certain control decks. I think a lot of control decks are going to run it.
This could also work interesting enough with the aforementioned mage spell where it can kill up to 4 minions with it.
True. And it's not even that expensive. I think it's going to be really good, especially as neutral. Should be very strong. And it makes sense. It's kind of the face of the expansion, so should be a strong card.
It's really interesting that this can go so many different ways with different classes.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have classes like Priest or Warrior where you have a lot of AoE removal, you're definitely expecting to get a lot out of it. And then if you have classes like Mage, for example, where you have a lot of damage spells that maybe aren't going to target as many minions, but you have a lot more spells in your deck that can very easily kill 1 minion or so.
This could also work in like some wild ideas with Q-Block, where you destroy your own for just value.
Yes. Also, side note that, of course, this is only 1 mana point understated, so basically, no matter what you're getting out of it, if it's something, it's going to be worth it.
Exactly.
So this is... Ooh, I think this is a good use of the spell deck as well. Steel Dancer. Summon a random minion with cost equal to your weapon's attack as a battle cry. It's a 4-mana 4/4 for Warrior and Rogue. The 2 weapon classes.
Yeah.
I guess the highest thing in this case would likely be Gorehowl, but I don't think that's necessarily what we're looking at.
Reaper is probably the most likely.
I was about to say we're more likely looking at the Arcanite Reaper, but you also run upgrades in Captain Greenskin, so there could still be very big things coming out of this 4/4. Again, 1 point understand.
Yeah, this could turn into like a Spiteful Summoner.
And as you've maybe noticed, based on the cards that we've talked about, more of a Warrior card than a Rogue card.
I think so. The Rogue is more consistent with the Rogue because you always have weapon.
Yeah,
but you're usually not as strong.
I mean, in Rogue, I guess you could literally just use it with the Hero Power Getter and 1-drop, and
probably wouldn't run it for that.
No, but at that point, it's still. I mean, you can still play this in Arena in Rogue very well. You get a random 1-drop off of it, you're fine.
Exactly.
That being said, of course, you still have a lot of weapon buffs in Rogue. That's the one difference. I think Borderlands has the bigger weapons, Rogue has more weapon buffs.
Yeah, like Deadly Poison. That's kind of easily accessible. Looks interesting.
Again, more of a warrior card, but looks potentially very powerful, especially in warrior. Infiltrator Lillian is a rogue legendary. She's a 4/4/2 with stealth. Death Rattle summon a 4/2 Forsaken Lillian that attacks a random enemy. The Forsaken Lillian is...
So this is like the story of Lillian Voss, obviously.
Yes.
Also coming back. Who was in the game a while ago? I think Frozen Throne, if I'm not mistaken.
Alright, there was a Lillian Voss card as well.
There was a Lillian Voss card, and they bring her back. Makes sense. It's a Scholomance theme, so it's a very flavorful expansion. Obviously, makes a lot of sense. There's a very famous interaction with her. So the strength of this card, I think, considering that we already have a rogue that plays stealth stuff, the Galakrond one, I think it's gonna be pretty decent. I think people will definitely try it out. It doesn't look super great, but it's a double huffer.
I thought of this as well when I saw the card. It's like stealth, of course, in rogue right now is very strong in general. And the 4/2, I feel like a comparison there kind of is the imprisoned Felmol, right? The Hunter one, where that is pretty powerful, and it's kind of similar to her Death Rattle.
It attacks random, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally what her Death Rattle does, right?
True.
It's kind of the same thing. It's slightly worse stats, but you're also getting a regular 4/2 stealth, so this could potentially be pretty good. I don't think this is like game breaking or anything, but I think it's a very solid card.
Yeah, people will definitely play it, and if the Galakrond Rogue has a spot, this will probably go into it.
Cycle of Hatred, the first ever Demon Hunter card that did not come out alongside the release of Demon Hunter. I just like pointing it out because it's very important. I'm gonna also hover over the token again. 7 mana spell for Demon Hunter, as I said. Deal 3 damage to all minions. Summon a 3/3 spirit for every minion killed.
So this is a Hellfire, but it also gives you minions for when you clear the board.
And it does not deal damage to face, which is a somewhat important distinction because every now and again you just see a Warlock play Hellfire to kill the opponent.
Well, this is a control card also, so maybe we'll see more of the shift of Demon Hunter going a bit slower, playing a bit more board focused.
We've already seen some interesting slower builds of Demon Hunter, and this definitely supports that.
Okay.
Noteworthy, of course, there is Pomanti Eldari, is a 3 mana summon 3/1/1s, which you could play in conjunction with this on turn 10 to get even more spirits. But also just against most aggro boards, especially I'm thinking of
Lux Pirates.
I was thinking especially of Spelldruid, which tends to build very big boards, but tends to build them later in the game.
Oh, yeah.
So that by that point you can actually play this. If you get to turn 7 against Murlocs, you're already doing pretty well. But Spelldruid, you're very likely to get to turn 7, and they're going to very likely play Glowflash Swarm at some point along the way. And, oh boy.
It's a good swing turn.
How the turntables.
Absolutely.
Again, I think it's all the stuff to say about this one. We have Brittle Bone Destroy. We've seen most of this class card combination actually already. This is a Priest Warlock card. We're seeing 2 more of those later on. And it has 4 mana 3/3 Battle Cry. If your hero's health changed this turn, destroy a minion.
Now this is brokenly strong almost, I want to say, because your hero's health changes all the time in Priest and Warlock, and it's just like you can make it happen.
Yeah, I really like, and this is not the only card that has that mechanic, by the way, the idea of the hybrid cards for Priest and Warlock saying health changed, because Priest heals and Warlock damages. So it's a very sensible way of kind of having a catch-all for both of those. Had to very briefly think about an older variety of Zoo Warlock, with the healing package, where you can get your health changing Warlock both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not the main use for this, but
doesn't more of a control card, I feel.
I mean, yeah, it destroys a minion. It's definitely a control card. That being said, of course, comparisons would be Vile Spine, Assassinate, those sort of cards. And
this goes into control Priest first and foremost.
Here's the thing, right? You can very reliably make this into 6 mana, destroy minion 3/3.
Yeah.
Because your hero power will be able to change your health. Yeah. Slightly more reliable in Warlock, because in Priest you might be at full.
But then again, in Warlock you might be at 2, so you can't tap.
Yeah, but which of those is more likely, right?
I don't know, it depends on when, like after 10 turns.
Also, if you're at 2 health, then probably destroying a minion is not going to be the thing that leads you to winning the game. That being said, it's a very powerful card, of course.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Also noteworthy, of course, Flame Imp and Radiance / Renewal / like there's a bunch of 1 mana, either self-damage for Warlock or healing for Priest. So there's a lot of ways
both classes really well.
Yeah, it fits with both classes really well. Now this one is interesting. At least to me it was. Bone Web Egg is a 2 mana 0/2 Warlock minion with Death Rattle. Summon 2 2/1 spiders. If you discarded this, trigger its Death Rattle.
Okay, so this is like, I don't know why discard sometimes shows up. I don't know. It feels kind of weird. I guess they wanted to put a new egg and they needed a new effect for it. So this is like one of the ones you want to discard.
Also, it's one of the better eggs in general. So yeah. I looked at this, right, and I was like, okay, I know for a fact that Zoo Warlocks used to play, and I've mentioned Zoo Warlock a lot today, has played in the past both Scarab Egg and Serpent Egg at different points. So this, with Evil Genius still being in Standard, this could very well fit in there.
Yeah,
and
you could see it.
Then on top of that, what do you also run in Zoo Warlock oftentimes?
Like Soulfire.
Soulfire.
Yeah.
Doomguard sadly not available anymore, but yeah, Soulfire. And if you reach a mid to late game, you're not gonna have a lot of cards in your hand.
True. So is this going to be the premier egg choice for Zoo?
I think this is by far the best egg choice for Zoo. I think you can make the argument of whether you'd rather have 2 2/1s or a 3/4. And Serpent Egg costs 3, if I'm not mistaken. No, that is also 2.
Costs 2.
I was about to say it would be silly. But still, like, you could make the argument which you'd rather have.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the upside of being able to trigger it with a Soulfire. You play your entire hand and you have like 1 mana left over and this and Soulfire is in your hand. That's a really good upside.
Yeah, I think people will consider it, for sure.
I think generally speaking in Zoolock, more often than not, this is going to be at least as good as Serpent Egg with the additional upside of the Soulfire interaction. So I think it's going to replace it in most decks where you see it. Oh, by the way, I didn't show them. The Bone Web Spiders are 2/1 beasts.
They're spooters.
Not very surprising. Beasts is worth noting because there have been spider tokens in the past that were not beasts, though those were kind of more spectral. I am still a bit miffed that the Haunted Creeper Spider is in fact not a beast, but that's just me. Speaking of, I said before, we have a lot of these. Another Priest Warlock card. And this one is the legendary for that class combination. Disciplinarian Gandling, a 4 mana 3/6, which is already decent stats. After you play a minion, destroy it and summon a 4/4 failed student, which is just a 4 mana 4.
So this wants you to play either small stuff like lackeys, like Zoo for example, or Battlecry minions. And of course, I've mentioned
Rattles.
Or Death Rattles. I've mentioned it. It's a very flavorful expansion with Scholomance. You get all the like the different rooms referenced and everything. I like the idea as a design, and also note this is a 4 mana 3/6, so generally just a very strong card to begin with.
Yeah, and as you said, small cards with battle cries. Like this is obvious thought.
Yeah.
You play this. You may have a small minion still on the board. You play your Evil Genius at both legs. You have 3 4/4s,
and you get the battle cries out of it too.
Yeah,
lackeys are perfect with this.
So yeah, I think this is almost a must-have in Zoo. Now I mentioned Death Rattles, which are very prominent in some classes more so than others. You sometimes see them pop up in Rogue, see them a lot in Hunter, and Priest. So yeah,
that's Priest. Yeah.
I think this is once again a bit more powerful in Warlock than in Priest, as opposed to the other one actually, which was probably more of a Priest card with the destroying minions, because you have more heals in Priest and damages in Warlock. But yeah, I think this could be really good in Zoo. Flesh Giant. Speaking of the hero change health mechanic, and speaking of that class combination, is once again a Priest Warlock card, and because the Giant is an 8/8, it costs only 8, which is hardly ever is there a bad Giant that costs 8, because if the effect triggered once or twice, it's going to be good already.
It'll be worth it. But this is going to be worth it to play more specifically in Priest.
Costs 1 less for each time your hero's health changed during your turns.
Which is going to happen a lot.
So, if you're playing a Priest, this is very likely to be damn near free by the time you get to it. That being said, of course, if you're playing a Priest that heals a lot, you're probably more of a control deck. So do you really care to have an 8/8?
Without taunt.
Yeah.
Is it more of a Zoo card? You play your Flame Shrimps, you tap.
You could play Nephthysad Thrasher if you play the Disease Vulture package.
It'll compete with Sea Giant. Which one's better? I feel like Flesh Giant might be better.
I think it is.
Because it's more consistent, right? Like, you get the Sea Giant, and oftentimes you have the problem your board gets wiped turn 5 or 6, and you can't play it.
And you tap, you have the Flame Imps, as you said, and as I said, if you play the Nephthysad Thrasher and Disease Vulture package, this definitely goes in.
Yeah.
If you don't play it, you would have to see how much it actually costs in practice to be playable, but oftentimes you play Sea Giants for like 3 or 4 mana anyways, so at that point you could just well play this. So yeah, I think this is also improved Zoo. I'm mentioning Zoo a lot today.
Well, there's a lot of Warlock cards today.
Yeah, and a lot of them seem to fit in Zoo. I don't mind that at all. I am playing a Zoo Warlock very prominently. So, you know. Cabal Acolytes. 4 mana, 2/6, Priest Epic. Taunt. Spellburst. Gain control of a random enemy minion with 2 or less attacks.
So, if you've played Hearthstone for any length of time, you know that 4 mana, 2/6 with Taunt never spells anything pleasant. But the Battlecry is sort of the...
Let me change your mind.
Yeah, it's sort of the Potion of Badness
no,
effect.
it's permanent, so it's more like the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah, because the Shadow Priest takes it over. Which is very, very strong if you have, of course, big minions with less than 2 attack, with 2 or less attack. I think this is going to go in... Of course, it fits Control Priest pretty well. And other comparison with the stats, at least Tortola and Shellraiser from Ongoro, they could be pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, other comparison that comes to mind with the stats is Vargoth, which it loses that one, but also it's not legendary. And I think, as you said, Control, you're taking likely a minion away from the aggro deck, which is almost better than having the minion yourself, but it allows you to make a trade in the future, which, you know, at that point, it's kind of like the Potion of Madness, Shadow Madness.
And you don't absolutely hate...
No madness.
Yeah. And you don't absolutely hate playing it if you have to, just on 4.
I've seen people play Shadow Madness.
Yeah.
This feels a lot better.
Shadow Madness gets played.
I mean, this is not as immediate with the attack, but this feels better than Shadow Madness.
I think so.
So, that's already a good argument, I feel like. If it's better than Shadow Madness, and it has good stats and Taunt, you can't complain. Oh boy. Mozaki Master Duelist. 5 mana, 3/8, Mage Legendary. After you cast a spell, gain spell damage +1.
I don't really know what to say about this card. This is like the card where people expect me to pop my hat and just like fucking tear the place down and just like scream at Blizzard for half an hour. I'm kind of tired of doing that at this point, and it seemed like they've been doing good with Mage for a while, and then this happens. I'm gonna skip the whole raging and just say I hope there's no deck that makes this see play.
So, obviously, I thought that this is, I think, the second time we've seen a cumulative spell damage effect where it grows over time. Mm-hmm. This one is very easy to provoke, and I couldn't help but think of Mana Cyclone, because you play a lot of small spells. It's that sort of like Cyclone Tempo Mage, where this fits in really well. You know, you play your first Arcane Missiles, you play the second Arcane Missiles for 1 more extra spell damage, you play your Frostbolt, you play your Cyclone, you get another Missiles.
Got a Apprentice on the board.
And, you know, it just keeps going like that. The other card I thought of is, what is it called, Evocation? The one that fills your hand with mage spells?
Yeah.
Also potentially pretty good.
Works the same way.
So yeah, I think that there is definitely a place for this in Tempo Mages. I think this single-handedly almost could revive the idea of just the Cyclone type Tempo Mage from being something you could theoretically play but don't, to something that might actually see a decent amount of play.
Let's hope it doesn't, but the possibility is there.
Speaking of legendaries, we have a Demon Hunter / Hunter legendary. Yeah. Which is the 3 mana, 2/4, Ace Hunter Queen. Once again, 1 point underset it. Your other characters are immune while attacking.
Remember Death Speaker?
Very vaguely.
Same exact stats and cost, and gave one of your minions immune that turn as a battle plan.
Yeah, that didn't really see that much play.
It was okay, but not a lot. This is pretty good.
It says other characters.
All of them.
Which means both of these classes, Demon Hunter more so,
They attack.
have the ability to attack with the heroes, and sometimes it just feels really bad when you have to hit your face into like an 8 attack minion to kill it. But with this
plus Warglaze just pop off.
This is
Hits.
kind of like, sometimes you play Blur, and sometimes you see Demon Hunters play Blur, just to kill a big minion with a hero power.
For that idea, yeah.
And this does it better.
Yeah.
Not to mention that this also kind of has the commanding shout type effect, where your minions just can't die from fighting.
I think the skill also goes into the building mid-range Demon Hunter, the board control.
Yeah.
Demon Hunter.
And I could just as well also see this. I feel like this would be a very likely inclusion in Highlander Hunter, for example.
I guess. Yeah.
Because why
There's
not?
There's a lot of spots open. Yeah, why not put it in?
It's a Highlander deck. There's a lot of spots where you have a bit of flexibility.
Yeah, you take up one of your secrets.
And it is arguably, because of its flexibility, something you can play as control. Yeah. And at that point, you'd really like this for your trading.
It works well with the hounds.
Yeah.
It works well with your hero attacking. True. It'll be versatile.
Speaking of dual class cards, we have a lot of those. Ceremonial Maul, a 3-mana 2/2 warrior / paladin weapon. We see the perfect case here of the new weapon frames doing work. Because, goddamn, with old design, you would not be able to tell what classes this is. With Spellburst, summon a student with taunt and stats equal to the spell's cost. We see here the 1/1 as an example.
Big taunts.
Yeah, and it's a 3-mana 2/2 weapon, right? So we're looking at a weapon that is arguably worth around 2 mana in its own stats.
Yeah.
So,
but with that effect?
Yeah. So I think if you play a spell that costs 2 or more, you're already up on the equation.
More warrior or more paladin, what do you think?
I want to intuitively say more warrior, but I could definitely see there being some decent uses in paladin. Though I also think that on average, the warrior probably runs more spells that this would be decently good with.
Do we know if this is accepted by pure paladin?
I believe
the dual class cards in general.
It is. I don't know for a fact.
Could be a consideration if it is.
That is true. Of course, the other point for why it might be better in paladin is that warrior already has a lot of good 3-mana weapons.
A lot
of them. You have Livewire Lance.
Yeah. Range Caliber's in there at 4.
Yeah, Range Caliber's at 4.
A lot of weapons, yeah. So how many weapons can you play?
There's a lot of competition there. And is this going to win out over any of those? Probably not.
I don't know.
Maybe against
Depends on how deep the control meta is. You might cut the Lance and the Anchor.
Yeah. But, so for aggressive decks, obviously, I think this is not as much of a thing. You also don't have big spells that much in aggressive decks. And that being said, neither of those two classes is particularly known for like huge spells.
It's a control.
You're not going to include Dimensional Ripper to play this.
It seems like
you could,
but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
It seems like they're really trying to push the control meta. There's a lot of control cards.
I mean, we've seen that very aggro heavy meta right now, so pushing control cards for one expansion could potentially offset that a little bit. And next up we have, oh boy, Totem Goliath. 5 mana, 4/5 Totem for Shaman. With Death Rattle, summon all 4 basic totems, overload 2.
Yeah.
I have heard people talk about that one guy who exists in Wild who summons here.
Yeah, exactly. Play that. They both together.
I mean, obviously those cards do go together in a way, but also that's a very complicated way. Just play Alakir if you really want him to.
Yeah, I guess.
That being said, it has overload 2, so it is 4 mana worth of stats. You have the overload. You're paying 5 mana up front.
It's a death rattle, importantly, because Battlecry will be way too strong.
Yeah.
Because of course there's also some aggressive totem synergy at this point. In Shaman.
I mean, I guess this probably makes a lot of sense. I mean, this for a fact makes a lot of sense in Totem Shaman.
Yeah, but this is Splitting Axe.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking right now. Is it Splitting Axe, of course,
and then the Dia boards for totems again.
But outside of that, it's not a good card in and of itself.
I don't know.
It's just because of the totem stuff that it's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because just summoning a bunch of random, rather weak minions isn't optimal.
Doesn't have taunt or any like cost reduction mechanics. So
and effectively, you're paying 7 mana. I know we always say the overload isn't as important as the main mana cost, but because it's not very aggressively statted, you kind of have to take the overload a lot more into consideration because this is not a very fast card itself.
Yeah.
So you're effectively playing 7 mana for a 4-drop that summons 4 minions that are arguably worth about a mana each.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this fits well into Control Shaman, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
So this goes in Totem Shaman and probably nowhere else. Yeah. Glide. Another new Demon Hunter card. Oh boy. The Wheel of Fortune.
This is the big one.
4 mana, shuffle your hand into your deck. Draw 4 cards.
Okay.
Outcast. Your opponent does the same.
So this could be the card that makes this expansion either great or terrible. And it's going to depend... It's really tough to gauge, obviously, because it's such an RNG-heavy card. But, of course, people have been complaining and talking about this card ever since it got released and shown. It's probably the most impactful card of the expansion, though it being a... We don't know exactly what kel'thuzad. This is a class card, but it could be the most impactful one. And if so... I don't typically like this type of card because someone or people will find a way to spurg with it and to like make it unfun somehow.
Yeah, because obviously the best use for this is if you're playing a more aggressive deck than your opponent's holding a bunch of answers in their hand, you're literally top decking every single turn, you play this, all of a sudden you have 4 cards, your opponent, you gained 4 cards, or I guess 3 because you played this, and your opponent is losing 4 or 5 cards.
Yeah.
Then of course this is a great deal for you, but also it's a bit expensive to go to aggressive decks.
Yeah, but I feel like why wouldn't it, right? I think just leave the outcast part out, dude. Like why would you make why the disruption part? Like why the disruption part? That seems like the mechanic of it that could just it's like stop someone from playing Hearthstone for 3 months. That last sentence on that card.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, right? This seems, if you're playing Control, and we said it, like, this seems to lead into a more Control-heavy meta. It's like, if you're playing Control, this card sucks to face, right? Like, you are keeping all your answers and whatnot, and then your opponent plays this, and all of a sudden you have nothing.
You got nothing. I don't know about this. I don't know.
Philosophy. Ha ha ha. Warlock cards are the punniest in the entire game.
True.
This is a Warlock/Demon Hunter card. It is a 1-mana spell. It reads, copy the lowest cost demon in your hand. Outcast, give both +1/+1, that being the original and the copy.
Yeah.
Fun thing that I thought of course, you can make quadrupling imps. Not the best use for it, but kind of funny.
Possible.
I mean, obviously this goes well with Battle Fiend, Flame Imp. Pretty much a lot of the 1-mana ones, really. This could theoretically be pretty good if you played something like... There has been ideas about the big Demon Hunter sort of deck, where this is just a huge value card, right? You don't necessarily play for the 1/1 buff.
Just for another one.
You just get another huge impact demon. That's one way of using it, or the more aggressive thing, as I said, where it, for example, goes into Zoo, where you can just play 2 Flame Imps on your turn, and they're also even more overset than usual.
Yeah, I feel like both of those classes might definitely play around with it. Seeing it more so in Warlock than Demon Hunter, but that's maybe because Demon Hunter's had a very straightforward playstyle so far, depending on how that changes.
But I mean, interesting enough, the B-roll used in the card reveal video actually showed this with Battle Fiends, and they were like, they played this, and then Battle Fiend, Hero Power, and all of a sudden you have 2/3/3.
If you get it with a Battle Fiend, of course, that's the absolute high roll, I think.
So I think this could potentially see play in Tempo Demon Hunter, but seems more like a Zoo card, with the added benefit of big demon decks also having a good use for this.
Yeah.
Less for the 1/1.
Could be versatile.
Being less for the 1/1 and more for the duplication means that you're not as reliant on playing it when it's outcast. If you're playing the aggro deck, it's more important that you're actually getting the buff.
Right.
So you can actually play the demon out of your hand that you don't necessarily want duped as much, and then just play this whenever, to actually get the exact 1 demon copy that you want in the... So this is arguably one of the most flexible cards that we've seen today.
Just depends on if it's good enough for either one. So
That's the question, right? We have Playmaker, a 3-mana 4/3 warrior minion, already not understated, already good arena card. After you play a rush minion, summon a copy with 1 health remaining.
Yeah, so that's a card to my liking, right? Other than it depicts an orc, obviously. But other than that, this is a card as I would print it. Cool name, warrior, rush mechanic. I like this. I like almost everything about this but the art.
I mean,
it's an orc.
Words to think about: Rush Warrior. That's something that comes to mind. Obviously, used to exist. Used to be pretty good. I think. Remind me, there is Rush Reborn, right? That's a thing that exists. That there's cards with that. Yeah, right. The Restless Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
Really good with this.
In Warrior.
Because you get to effectively have 4 mummies then.
4 rushes.
It is a very specific
Yeah.
thing. But you have so many rush mummies in Warrior, then this would be good with. Anything that has a death rattle, which I don't think happens that much with rush minion.
Yeah.
Anything that has Reborn, which is kind of like a death rattle. Extra value. But even just having a high attack rush minion and then twice to kill more things. And I guess at the end of the day, it probably is more of a control card.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't fit current Warriors though, like with Blood Boil maybe.
Yeah, and again, I mean, just look at it, right? It's a 3 and a 4/3. Like, it doesn't really seem that bad to play this in an aggro deck for just a little bit of an upside.
I like the idea.
It's a very flexible card.
It'll be fun to work with. I like it.
Archwitch Willow, a 9-mana 7/7 Warlock Legendary.
Okay.
Battlecry. Summon a random demon from your hand and deck.
Yeah, this is, of course, exactly what we would have needed during the Cube days, right?
No, that's exactly the worst thing they could have done during the Cube days because Cube was already oppressive.
Imagine if that was in there. That would be phenomenal.
I was about to call this out, though. Like, in Wild, you can do this.
You can do it in Cube, yeah. You can play it.
This definitely goes in Cube.
Void Lord and Doomguard.
Yeah.
And that's all. How does it go in Standard? Because control, like big demon control Warlock isn't exactly it at the moment.
Yeah, this seems like something that would be incredible in Demon Hunter. Because you got all of the big demons in Demon Hunter as well. They're not necessarily as played necessarily right now as like a mainstream deck archetype, but it definitely is a thing.
So way too high cost for any aggressive idea, of course, with the 9. So it has to be control card. And it has to be specific demons that you tutor to. So it would have to be the Cube sort of idea.
And also, it almost feels like getting 2 cards off. This is a high roll. You're kind of expecting 1 almost, because if you're like waiting to get the perfect thing on your hand,
not playing a lot of
or you're playing late, then you might not have any in your deck anymore. Yeah. Or if you want to play it for like a decent tempo, you might just have to suck up the fact that you don't have a demon on your hand right now.
Yeah, just recruit one.
That being said, it's somewhat heavily understated, but
I don't think we're gonna see it right away unless more support comes up.
Yeah, I was supposed to.
But it's something that over the next year probably will be quite in something.
Warlock demons in Standard right now, or neutral demons for that matter.
Jumbo Shrimp.
Yeah,
but nothing that's like nothing like Void Lords or Doom.
I mean, I guess if you get this, and somehow manage to get 2 Jumbo Imps out of it, then that's pretty good.
Yep, true.
But that's a very niche case. I mean, even if you get 1, it's still very valuable to play it. But I feel like there's just not the archetype there for this to make it happen, as you said. Though there is also, of course, more cards coming up in the future. Penflinger. Now, this one is also very interesting. It's a good use of the Spellburst mechanic. It's a 1-mana, 1/1. Battlecry, deal 1 damage. So it's Elven Archer. Spellburst. Return this to your hand.
Okay.
You know what I thought of?
Kobolaki.
No. What I thought of...
What you think of?
Is not a fair comparison because the mana cost in practice usually ends up being different, but it's kind of like the Shadow Reaper hero power. Shadow Reaper Admin, right?
Is it?
It literally is. If you have 2 of those, it literally is.
If you have 2, right?
Except that it's better because you can split the damage. The problem is, of course, when people actually end up playing Shadow Reaper, they made the hero power cost 0.
And it was not activated by spells, but by any card.
Yeah.
Reload it.
That's true. But I mean that came to mind. And it's not a fair comparison, of course, because it was primarily used with Raza, in which case it's insane.
So will there be some kind of way to play influence spells with this and like combo it out for 30? I don't know. They'll probably pay attention to it.
I don't think this is going to be possible for an OTK, but this could be an interesting tool for something like the aforementioned Cyclone Mage, though I think Cyclone Mage would rather just squeeze an extra spell in.
Yeah.
Or maybe as like a control tool to like ping into a lot of the small minions your opponent has. Like, use this to kill a Murloc, then play your small damage spell, then use this to kill another Murloc.
One, yeah.
So that's...
It's like a slightly weaker Cobalt Lackey, but you can maybe make it happen multiple times. Gonna be interesting to see.
I definitely find it interesting, and I find it just the idea of that sort of a spell burst effect, where in practice it kind of happens indefinitely, is interesting for sure. The question is just how good will it be?
Yeah, it'll be some experimentation.
And last, but certainly not least, Dr. Krastanov.
Another flavorful one.
The 5-mana 4/4 rogue/warrior legendary with Rush. Already good.
Rush.
Whenever this attacks, give your weapon +1/+1.
Remember Playmaker?
Yes, I do. I was about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
This goes well with Playmaker. Also, obvious comparison, Captain Greenskin. People play Captain Greenskin.
Yeah.
This has one less attack and Rush, and potentially can pull, not likely, but potentially, can pull the effect off multiple times.
Yeah. Now, Greenskin's a pirate, notably, at least for Pirate Warrior, is important.
Yeah.
But in a neutral situation, this is probably better, because the Rush is definitely worth more than the one attack. And the duplicating potential with Playmaker is also there.
Yeah, I think, especially if Rush Warrior becomes a thing, this is great.
Yeah.
This goes in any deck that you would run Captain Greenskin in that is not specifically a pirate deck, and maybe even in some of the pirate decks.
Maybe even there. Why not?
Notably, I think, I'm just going to say this, we talked about a lot of Warrior ideas here, because this is probably better in Warrior.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's impossible to play in Rogue, and there might be some uses for it in Rogue, but right now, without a really good Rogue weapon, I don't see all the weapon stuff being as relevant in Rogue.
Well, and we've made the argument, in Rogue you have more easy access to weapon. Like, it'll be more versatile, but not as strong. In Warrior, you have to have a weapon, because in Warrior it happens, there's turns or moments or games where you just don't have a weapon.
That's true.
In which case it's a 5-mana 4/4 rush, which is okay, but nothing spectacular. And not a legend that you would typically bring into.
Yeah, I guess changing your dagger into a 2/3 is probably decent. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't really see this in Rogue right now. That being said, both this and the other Rogue Warrior weapon-related card, once they print a really good Rogue weapon in this expansion, all of that changes, of course, that I've just said.
And you have no idea, so.
And there's very good possibility. We've seen a lot of good rogue weapons in the past. Yep. And then all of a sudden this becomes a lot better.
I like the Warrior ideas though. I do like what we've seen from them so far and where their class is going. I think the Playmaker, Rush, there's a lot of things coming together that I really like. So overall, I'd say so far positive impression.
Yes.
But there's going to be a lot more, of course, coming up over the whole time, actually. Like, every day, pretty much, we get...
Yeah, by the way, we have now official confirmation the expansion released on August 6th.
August 6th. Okay, that is only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's not a long time, so...
You gotta make sure to, finish the trash ball until then.
That's true. So strap down in your seats, and we're gonna be uploading a lot of these, because we'll get all the new cards, and we're gonna review them, and then hopefully give some good opinions. But let us know yours on the set that we've seen today. Tomorrow's, of course, podcast day, and on Sunday we'll probably be back with another one of these, because we'll have a collection of new cards, and the semi-finals are happening of the tournament, so that's going to start next week. Be sure to check back for that. After a little bit of a break, we're going to finally get those done. So thank you for watching the video. Drop a like on it if you did enjoy it, and we're going to see you in the next one. JJ.
That's it.
That's it.